Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Hope all is well in your world today. Let's check out our spaceweather.com, see what we got going. All right, our solar wind is currently at 357.6 kilometers per second. Our planetary K index is at a 2 at the moment and expected to be no higher within the next 24 hours. We don't see any coronal holes facing us. And our chance of flares, well, we've got a 20% chance we're going to have an M-class flare, but only 1% chance is going to be an X-class nature. And if we look at our geomagnetic storm possibilities, 15% active if we're in the higher latitudes, lower if we're in the mid-latitudes, nothing more than that. There is a chance of some sort of minor geomagnetic activity. If it's in the higher latitudes, it's about 15% chance. Now let's go look up here. There was a solar flare yesterday. There we go. This was a solar flare that blew off of northeastern limb on the 16th, produced one of the most visually spectacular explosions in years. It's pretty fascinating, and just to think that the size of this is many times the size of Earth, just that in itself, and that's pretty amazing just to consider that possibility. Now, astrologically, we are in the sign, still in the same sun sign. So the sun sign deals with our conscious mind, and that is in Aries. Aries, creativity, imagination, ideas. In tarot cards, Aries is the emperor who oversees. The phrase, he who sets in order, goes along with that. So springtime is a time when we set things in order, our spring cleaning. We put our house in order, getting ready for the upcoming seasons. So we're dealing with the element of fire for the conscious mind and unconscious. Today, here at the 17th, we're at Pisces. Pisces is a water sign. So we have unconscious water, conscious fire. Not just thinking how elements of fire and water operate in life, we could see that, the way they operate. If too much water can put out the fire. So too much emotions coming from the unconscious mind can squash the ideas being presented from the conscious mind. Too many ideas can overwhelm the emotions unconsciously and throw things out of balance. Now, think of fire and water. How fire heats up water. So the conscious mind can have that sort of effect on the unconscious. So it's all about balancing elements. That's what all of this is about. Regardless of we see the sun, it's still an element we're dealing with. We're dealing with fire. We're dealing with ideas, creativity. All right. Moving from there, our moon phase, we're just about to a new moon. You can see we just got a 12% sliver left. And then the Mayan Oracle, we're at an 11-tone day. So we've almost made it to the end of this wave spell. 2 more days to go. 11-tone, it's right here. 11 is represented by 2 bars, 5 and 5, and the dot makes the 11. The storm is the kin, the day kin, it's right in the middle, and the guide is above it. So today we have an 11 storm guided by the storm. And the supporting cast members around it are the moon, the sun, and the wind. And the phrase for today, I dissolve in order to catalyze releasing energy. I seal the matrix of self-generation with the spectral tone of liberation. I am guided by my own power doubled. Now just to clarify on this dissolve part, this word dissolve comes from the 11th tone here, the spectral tone. It's called the spectral tone of liberation, and the idea of dissolving is like taking sugar and dropping it into water. The sugar dissolves, but then the water itself becomes sweet because it dissolves and becomes much bigger. Kind of like the idea when Obi-Wan Kenobi said, if you strike me down, I will become even more powerful than before. Same idea. It's that we dissolve, not to become less, but dissolve to become more into the bigger picture. All right, and there you have it. That is our cosmic weather for today, all shapes and sizes. All right, our first story I'm going to get to here is we've got a couple of Ron Paul again. This first one is Ron Paul talking about ending the IRS as he has been doing, and this is one of his recent interviews. I find each and every interview I watch of his to be more inspiring. I watched the whole Texas A&M interview the other day. I played part of it. like 12 minutes of it, but the whole thing's about an hour and 3 minutes. If you get a chance, watch it. It's very inspiring, just hearing what he says and seeing the response that people are getting. So, all right, let me move on now. Let's get over and listen to what he has to say in this interview.
It gives me a great honor to introduce our next guest. I think you're going to be pretty excited about this. If you want a friend of limited government in Congress, you've got one here. If you want a congressional record that shows that somebody has spent decades fighting big government without exception, if you want somebody who's got the guts to take on the Federal Reserve of the United States, you got him. And this guy, please join me in welcoming presidential candidate Ron Paul. Thank you. And the Fed. Great. Along with the IRS. Let's repeal 1913. We'd all be better off. No, it's great to be here. You know, sometimes I give speeches on the House floor and there's nobody there. I like to leave the House floor, and I like to go to America, like go to Texas and other states, because people actually cheer what I say, and I like that. So, you know, I'm sure we've talked a lot. Everybody here has talked a lot about taxes, and this is tax day. But you know, taxes in many ways are nothing more than a symptom. The taxes that we pay are a symptom of runaway government. And that is the problem. It is the fact that we have allowed our government to be so big and out of control. The Congress doesn't control it. The executive branch has more control than they deserve, and the courts have more court than they need. So what we need is a strong Congress to rein in the executive branch and the court to get back to constitutional government. I have a belief about taxes, and I believe that taxes indeed are theft, stealing from the people. Now, I have a little, and you may have seen this on the internet, I have a bumper sticker on my desk that everybody comes to my office and sees. It says, "Don't steal, the government hates competition." But the government taxes in many ways. I think of spending as the culprit, because think of spending as being the tax. And then it's paid for in many different ways. They do taxes, and it's way too high, but they never tax enough to pay the bills. So what do? They endlessly borrow. And they borrow so much, and then interest rates go up, and that doesn't work. So then what do? They resort to the printing press, and the printing press, the Federal Reserve, is the culprit that finances big government. And that's exactly right. Eventually, if we're going to have a republic, we're going to have sound money. The Constitution is very clear. Only gold and silver can be legal tender, not paper money. Now, why is it that even the Federal Reserve is involved in taxation? Well, they print money, they devalue your currency. Anytime you complain about a high price, you're paying a tax. So it is a tax. And the big sin, of course, is the big spending. Politicians, up until just recently, they were always rewarded by spending money and telling their constituents back home, "I'm going to get you whatever you want." Well, those days are over, and you've helped to end those days. Now, the Federal Reserve serves two special interests in Congress. There's two types of spending that we have to be concerned about. One is the liberal spending. We know all about that. They like to take over your lives because they consider you too stupid to take care of your lives yourself. So they have to take care of you from cradle to grave. So they justify that. But then we do have some conservatives, at least they call themselves conservatives. A lot of times they're nothing more than neoconservatives. And they believe that we have to endlessly spend overseas, and it's time we quit this. We quit the foreign aid. We quit being the policemen of the world. We don't need to occupy over 700 bases overseas, 135 countries, because that's how republics are destroyed. That is how empires end, for economic reasons, by stretching themselves too far overseas. So, if we want to get back to a normal budget and balance our budget, I think one of the best ways to start is, why don't we just quit spending all the money overseas? Why don't we spend the money here at home? Now, what could we do to save some money? I think it's time we should ask the question, how long do we have to stay in Korea? We've been there 60 years. I would say it's time to come home from Korea. And we've been in Europe, we've been in Japan, and we're looking for a new fight every single day. So it's really time that we have a foreign policy that was demonstrated and preached to us by our founders. That is, get along with people, be friends with people, trade with people, but mind our own business. Stay out of the internal affairs of other nations and have a strong national defense. That's what we need. And we don't need to endorse this system where the president decides when to go to war. War under the Constitution should only be taken upon ourselves when the war is declared by the Congress, not the president. But good things are happening in this country. The budget is horrible. The Congress is horrible. They're spending. They don't hesitate for 1 minute. But there are good things happening in the country, and you're part of it. People have finally awakened. They have finally found out that if they speak out, maybe they will have some influence. Washington has not responded to the people because the people basically have been quiet. And the ones who made noise were the lobbyists. They came with their hands out. They wanted stuff. Well, it's all ending because even those who are supposed to be receiving the stuff at your expense, they're realizing it's not going to last much longer. We're bankrupt in this country, and therefore we do need a sea change. But what we have to do is ask the proper question. The first question is, what should the role of government be? And everybody says, well, we do this and that and take care of medical care. I say it's much simpler than that. The role of government is to protect our liberties. And if we protect our liberties, then the free people can take care of themselves. Get rid of all these taxes and all these regulations and all these government controls and needless wars. The purpose of liberty is to allow free people to be creative, to release the creative energy that we need, and also to strive for excellence and virtue. That's what life is all about. But when government takes over this role of saying, we're going to make you a better person and tell you how to live and run your personal life, or we're going to take over your economic powers and we're going to tell you how you spend your money, then the government does that at the expense of liberty. And, of course, what suffers is the prosperity of this country. And this country is indeed bankrupt. The standard of living for middle-class America has been going down for 10 years, and it's not going to go up soon until we realize that we have to get control of our budget, control of our government, and give us sound money. And in the meantime, we will end the Fed. Hey!
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. This is the UFO News for today. Let's jump into it. I have 4 stories. Let's see what we've got here. Here we go. Or actually, I got 5 stories. All right, first story comes to us from Italy. 3 sightings, UFO sightings, times 3 over Italy. Here we go, 3 craft. Is that the image we saw? Well, in September 1960, 3 dark UFOs appeared over Italy and were photographed. There was a fair number of people that argued that this was a fake because of the extreme dark color of the 3 UFOs, while others still said this could be either magnetic, gravitational, or possibly another anomalies. The reason I want up is because I think it's important that as we're looking at this UFO evidence and information that we keep in mind that these things have been going on for some time, and they've been going on all over the world. So There's a great picture for you to check it out, see what you think. Alright, next one here. This is Melbourne, Australia. Latest over UFO sightings over Melbourne, captured on a night vision camera. A UFO video made at night vision using technology to capture Starship UFOs maneuvering across the night skies. Alright, let's take a look at this here. Alright, obviously it's better, as it says, if you can view this in high definition. So the link's available so you can do so, but alright, we got something very interesting right here. There you go. Pretty fast moving object. And we got one going the opposite way. Looks like two going the opposite way. There's a lot of activity going on up there. It's pretty amazing. Quite a sight in the sky. So the whole video's there. It's a little over 2 minutes. FirstContactRadio.com, right hand side of the page, UFO News. Now here's Chile, Talca Chile, on the 14th. Let's see what we have. Alright, so it's kind of dark here. Alright, not seeing too much there, but I got the video link up, so sometimes you can see them better than others. I guess that's one of them. Alright, Smoking Gun Research Agency in Connecticut is tracking Bantam Lake UFO story. Plans event. Story about a UFO falling into Bantam Lake around 2 a.m. Tuesday has caught the attention of Orange, Connecticut-based group called the Smoking Gun Research Agency, which says it has been studying the paranormal, metaphysical, unexplained since 1997. In a message to the New Haven Register, the group says of the Bantam Lake incident that it has been working on investigating this incident since early Wednesday morning. Although we are based in Orange, our fieldwork covers all areas of Connecticut, and though we precisely agree with the opinion that it was likely a meteor, it is nevertheless interesting and worth investigating, the message said. As a result of the story and our work on it, we will be hosting an evening Skywatch event at our research center in Orange on Saturday evening at 6 p.m. to educate our members as well as the public on observation of the night sky. It continued, currently our SGRA team is pursuing further details on this story and are sharing information with the NBC Connecticut news team, which has also been in the story. Anyone who has information to add or would like to submit a sighting report is invited to contact us directly, and there's information right here, SGRA at sgra.org. Alright, so continued investigation goes on. Here we got this is the image that was captured. Okay, and our very last story comes to us from Spain. Pilots scramble jets in Costa del Sol, Spain to chase a UFO. A number of experts have come forward to claim that a series of low-flying military jets that awoke the Costa del Sol may have been chasing a UFO. The residents of Benahavis and Estepano, where a trio of fighter jets undertook the mysterious 5 a.m. sortie on the Easter Sunday, believe that the planes have been tailing an alien craft. While the authorities refuse to comment on the incident, the olive press has been inundated with calls and emails from concerned residents. One British reader, who was asked to remain anonymous, told the paper this weekend, "It was terrifying. They were clearly tailing this strange-looking craft. I cannot describe what it was, but it was long and thin and had flashing lights. It was definitely not a plane or a helicopter. It made very strange sound and moved very slowly before suddenly shooting off at top speed." And it goes on to say, my neighbor Allison Woods, who is married to former RAF engineer, added, "It was eerily humming sound, nothing I have ever witnessed before. We have lived on various RAF bases in the UK and abroad. It was the most bizarre sound, not easy to explain." Another revealed that when she had reported the strange goings-on to police, they had acted suspiciously. So there you have it. That's our UFO news for today. Sightings going on all the time. More and more reports, so something's definitely going on to pay attention to, right? Alright, let me jump away to a moment to wake up, and I'll be back. I've got more news you're going to want to hear. Stay tuned.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
All right, welcome back. So, here we go. Next story up here, we're going to talk about Obama. Obama and his birth certificate problem. Now, it's just more than a birth certificate problem at this point, because the document that was put online, which is now being called the file because it was determined through forensic investigation that it was never actually a document that was scanned into the computer. It was always a computer file, that it originated on the computer, it was made there. And so this is what was presented. You had Obama, which indicated that this was him, and then all these reports came out saying they were fake. And now that all these reports have come out, you have all those who support Obama say that, oh no, this couldn't be, and they dismissed this with any thought. But then the other day, Obama's lawyer admits that what was online is a forgery, but because it's a forgery, it can't be used to prove whether or not he was a natural-born citizen, even though it was on the White House website. So there was on the White House website a document that was a forgery, and the White House didn't know enough to be able to determine if it was a forgery or not. So they are in a practice of just putting forged documents up on their page without checking. That's what she claims. And the forgery was all a conspiracy so that this couldn't be looked into. Very weird, but that's actually what she said. Now, continuing along, this isn't going away, this issue, and it's going to continue to go on. So eventually the mainstream's going to have to report this. Right now, it isn't. This is Ann Barnhardt, and she's talking with others about politicians, about the Obama. And what's interesting about this one is you're going to hear people in the background snickering as she's telling this. In light of the fact that this is such a big incident, as big as Watergate, it really seems silly that we actually have people that are laughing about these issues. Because I guess that these same individuals that are laughing are the same ones who so blatantly stated that they would never get fooled, there would never be a Holocaust during their lifetime, all these corruption things would never happen. And they're happening in front of their very eyes, and they're laughing about them. And maybe laughter is the only reaction that somebody has when they understand on a deep level how badly they're being fooled. Maybe that is the natural reaction. Anyway, let's get to this clip here, and you'll be able to hear exactly what's going on. Here we go.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
At Halloween, MF Global, the big commodity futures clearing firm, John Corzine, one of the oligarchs, former governor of New Jersey and former United States senator, stole. S-T-O-L-E, stole at minimum $1.6 billion in segregated customer funds. Not people who were invested in the company, no, deposits, custodial deposits in the company. He stole them. He walks the streets a free man tonight because this is no longer a republic. The rule of law is dead. If you are an oligarch, you can literally do anything, and the so-called government will not touch you. The republic is dead. I know it's bad news. No kidding, it's bad news. But if you don't get your heads around this, how can we possibly fight to do anything? If you can't even acknowledge the simple fact of what is right in front of you, how can we fix this? The republic is dead. The executive branch has been overthrown and usurped by a non-state, non-uniformed enemy belligerent who is not even a citizen of this country. My God, what else do you need? There is crime happening on a scale that is unprecedented in human history, and it is fully protected United States government. The legislative branch is composed of 535 godless, moral, degenerate sociopaths. Every damn one of them. How can I say that? Because why aren't they standing on the front steps of the Capitol saying, that SOB over there in the White House, yeah, he isn't even an American citizen. And they all know it. Don't kid yourselves. Every one of those rat bastards knows what he is. They know it. And they do nothing. They are traitors. They have betrayed their oath of office. They are godless degenerates who are in it for the money. They're in it for the power. They are content to watch the country be overthrown and destroyed. And it has been overthrown, and we are now in the process of the destruction. They are content to sit and watch this happen because they know that if they are compliant and if they cooperate and they go along to get along, that they will then have a seat at the table of power at the next iteration of whatever godforsaken government emerges from this. These people are the scum of the known universe. There is no hope, ladies and gentlemen, in Washington, D.C. You have to understand this.
The don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
All right, so you can see that there's others who are quite upset about this issue, and it's really not a laughing matter. And every day that goes by, a man is in office who is not even an American citizen, and Americans are being fooled. Now, why is this important? Okay, the story says Obama's from Kenya. That's where he was from. Well, look at this story right here. Kenya sees spike in Obama administration funded project. Huh, what a coincidence. Kenyan business lately are increasingly becoming recipients of U.S. government largesse, as the Obama administration, among pursuing other endeavors, aims to expand livestock-related economic opportunities in that nation. Although this and other recently related pre-solicitation notices for unrelated programs serve as advance alerts for potential vendors and therefore do not offer cost estimates and other details, a review of U.S. government contracting actions nonetheless indicates a spike of activity in Kenya in the variety of sectors. The White House is committing a 5-year effort to improve the inclusiveness and competitiveness of the livestock industry, specifically in Marsabit and Garissa counties, Kenya, according to pre-solicitation notices released April 12th by the U.S. Trade and Aid Monitor, located via routine database research. All right, so I'm going to leave this article up there. But, yeah, it's great that, we're helping out other countries and things. That's, it's always good, but here's another piece of the puzzle. There's so many pieces to this puzzle. How it is getting dismissed and ignored is just mind-boggling. It's kind of like living in one of those crazy movies where you watch and everything's going bad, and yet you have people laughing and going through all of the pain and the problems, and it doesn't make sense. All right. This next video here, this is another piece on Ron Paul, and this is Ron Paul with Stossel. And this is a good piece. So let me get to this. Here we go.
Government fails, but individuals succeed. It took me a long time to figure that out. I spent years as a consumer reporter calling for government to prevent ripoffs, to pass a regulation. It took me 20 years to realize that does more harm than good. But my next guest is smarter than I. He understood that years before. Presidential candidate Ron Paul has done more than just about anyone to defend individual liberty. He joins us from the campaign trail. So, Dr. Paul, how's it going? You're in Berkeley, of all places, where I think of people as hostile to free markets.
Oh, the bastion of capitalism right here in Berkeley. Actually, we have a real nice crowd, so we're very pleased.
You got lots of students turning out?
Absolutely. We've been to 3 universities here in California, and the turnouts have been fantastic. 5,000, 6,000, one time close to 7,000. But don't look for any reports in the newspaper. It hasn't shown up in the newspapers yet, so we have to get the message out some other way.
Well, 7,000 certainly is an unusual crowd, and I would assume I would wish these students understood your fiscal issues, but it's mostly because they want wars stopped?
I think it is, but boy, I spend a lot of time. Some of my speeches go 45 minutes or so, and the whole purpose or my goal has always been those who are interested in personal liberty and they're anti-war, and talking to them about, well, if you're for individual liberty in the social sense, you have to be for individual liberties in the economic sense. If you want to lead your life as you choose, you ought to be able to spend your own money as you choose, and there should be an incentive system. So I try to put this package together because for so long, probably close to 100 years now, we've had people think that there's economic liberty and social liberty, and they're two different things, and two different groups defend each half, and I don't think it'll work unless we put it together.
Well, let's talk about economic security. I think our biggest problem, is that Medicare is going broke and Social Security too. President Obama said we would not be a great country without them. What do you say?
Well, we're going to be a broke company with it, and if you're broke, it's not a very great country, and I think what we're witnessing today is that the country's broke and nobody wants to admit it, and that's why they're still fighting over a pie that is shrinking.
On a CNN debate, you said you'd cut $1 trillion right now, and you basically were ignored.
Yes. Yeah, because I see us being in a debt crisis, which is a result of a spending crisis. And a lot of Republicans claim they care about it, but they don't cut anything. Right now, the proposal on the table for the Republicans is to balance the budget in 30 years. I just sort of laugh at this. I mean, the communists used to only have 5-year plans. We have a 30-year plan to balance the budget. No real cuts.
And even this modest cut from Paul Ryan is being called cruel social Darwinism by the president. And that resonates with people.
Well, it does, and even though I didn't vote for the budget and I criticize it, I sort of empathize with his problem. You know, he doesn't really cut it, but look at the grief he gets.
Now, you want to pull our troops back. I certainly agree. We have 50,000 soldiers in Germany and 36,000 in Japan. I don't know why they need to be there either, but let me push back on some of these issues. You say it was right to go to war in World War II, it was right to retaliate in Afghanistan, but these other interventions are a mistake. But some would say our interventions in Kosovo, Bosnia, Serbia, Grenada, and Kuwait, weren't they a good thing?
No, I don't think so. We don't have the authority. We don't. Some people might argue that look at the wonderful turnout in Iraq and the mess in Afghanistan. No, there's long-term consequences, but the rule of law is probably more important than a token success by bombing people and killing a bunch of people. Who knows what would have happened if we had not been there? It might have come to a conclusion a lot sooner with a lot of less death and destruction. So I think we have to protect the rule of law and not allow presidents to go to war without the consent of the people through a declaration in the Congress.
Thank you, Dr. Paul. I really admire your stamina to campaign away. I want to tell the audience that the last time you were here, I asked you if you were tired of this, and you said the only thing you minded is you didn't get to exercise as often as you like to. And I asked you, how often do you like to exercise?
Twice a day. I like to walk in the morning and ride a bike in the afternoon. And when I don't get my adequate amount of exercise, I get very grouchy. So I try to work it in all the time.
Thank you, Dr. Paul.
All right, more good words. More good words. Dr. Paul definitely has good stuff to say. All right, moving right along here. Did you hear about what happened in Michigan and all the pigs that were shot? This is kind of a crazy story. The government decided that these pigs shouldn't, well, let me get to this for you. You're not going to believe this. Call to action. Join the demand to investigate Michigan DNR Director Rodney Stokes over forced shooting of baby piglets in cold blood. Now, there is nothing more pathetic, ugly, and insidious than a tyrannical government thug who uses his power to destroy the lives of law-abiding citizens. Today, we have witnessed the outrageous acts carried out by jackbooted scumbags in Michigan's Department of Natural Resources, DNR, who masterminded armed raids on 2 ranches in that state, all with the intention of shooting and killing traditional livestock and arresting ranchers as felons. This is part of Michigan's new invasive species order, which maliciously and unlawfully targets traditional pig livestock as an invasive species based entirely on their hair color and other physical traits. According to our sources, the person behind this effort is DNR Director Rodney Stokes. Rodney Stokes, we've been told, is the decisive maker behind the armed raids in Michigan ranches. He's the one who demands that a traditional heritage pig be slaughtered at gunpoint and that Michigan ranchers be arrested and charged as felons if they resist. In investigating this story, I called and left a message for the DNR's media contact, but so far has failed to return the call. So, what kind of a person takes out a war on pigs? That's just kind of weird. Weird world. People do weird things this day. You know. Alright, this next story here. The New Atlantis. The Population Control Holocaust. Alright, let's get to this here. Goes on to say, there's a single ideological concurrent running through the seemingly disparate collection of noxious modern political and scientific movements ranging from militarism, imperialism, racism, xenophobia, and radical environmentalism to socialism, Nazism, and totalitarianism, communism. This is the ideology of anti-humanism, the belief that the human race is the horde of vermin whose unconstrained aspirations and appetites endanger the natural order, and the tyrannical measures are necessary to constrain humanity. The founding prophet of modern anti-humanism is Thomas Malthus, who offered a pseudo-scientific basis for the idea of human reproduction always outruns available resource. Following this pessimistic and inaccurate assessment of the capacity of human ingenuity to develop new resources, Malthus advocated oppressive policies that led to the starvation of millions in India and Ireland. Well, Malthus's argument has been that human population growth invariably leads to famine and poverty is plainly at odds with historical evidence which shows global living standards raising with population growth. It nonetheless persisted and even gained strength among intellectuals and political leaders in between the 20th and 21st centuries. Its most pernicious manifestations in recent decades has been the doctrine of population control, famously advocated by ecologist Paul Ehrlich, whose best-selling 1968 anti-humanist tract, The Population Bomb, has served as the Bible of non-Malthusianism. In the book, Ulrich warned of overpopulation and advocated that the American government adopt stringent population control measures, both domestically and for the third world countries that received American foreign aid. Now you can go on, you can see more to the article. But an article about population control and the people in the government, not just this government, governments around the world, actually reading and finding popularity with this book. It's not a good thing. You see, there's plans behind the scenes that are much more than what people think. And it's good that people are standing up. You know, people ask all the time why Ron Paul is still in this race. Is he going to win? Hey, man, a lot could happen. There's a lot of race between now and then. What's going on as a movement is happening. And as you watch Ron Paul from location to location, the crowds seem to get bigger. They're younger crowds. And that's good because this is the young generation that is going to change what's going on. It's the young generation that needs to rise up because with all these wars and problems that are taking place, it's the younger generation that's going to be called up to war. If you have a kid and your kid is high school age and college aged, your kid is in that prime age for any of these war problems that go on with these new executive orders that Obama's signing. If things really get bad, your kids are in a bad spot, and they're not the only ones. So we need to protect the kids. We need to protect our lives and our futures here, because this isn't just what is going on right now. It's what's going to happen in the future and what's the legacy that's left behind. So it's real important that we pay attention. Now, last week there was the big earthquakes in Sumatra. Here is a question brought up. Did North Sumatra earthquake set off a chain reaction? Planet shaken by shocking number of tremors since April 11th, 2012. And we can look here. We could see what's going on with this map. And these are major earthquakes since then. There's quite a bit. The shocking number of earthquakes that have rattled the globe, especially along tectonic plate boundaries since the double 8.0 magnitude earthquake struck off the coast of northern Sumatra on April 11th, could be early indications the planet may be shifting towards a new catastrophic model. Romania's top seismologist, Jorge Murmino, told the Bucharest Herald, "There is no doubt something is seriously wrong. We have been through too many strong earthquakes. I said in my book, if you keep seismically shaking the earth like a bottle of soda, its structural integrity eventually will become compromised and will start to fracture like an egg. In this case, the fracturing will be thermal dissipation by the hypervolcanism, megathrust earthquakes, and greater tectonic boundary plate agitation around volcanic arcs and subduction zones. If this is what's indeed happening, the pressure will continue to build in the interior of the planet until eventually destabilizes all tectonic plates in a spectral pattern of continuous seismic oscillation. Every earthquake generates and emits enough kinetic energy through the earth to potentially trigger more seismic disturbances." So this is something we want to keep an eye on. The ground, the earth below us is quaking and is shaking, and the news isn't really keeping people too informed about all of these earthquakes. But all you need to do is just go to usgs.gov and look at the number of earthquakes that are happening on a daily basis, and they're definitely increasing, and they're not being talked about. And sometimes you'll be looking at the USGS and you'll actually see the earthquakes downgraded before your eyes, and this happens all the time. Or there'll be earthquakes that will happen and some reporting centers don't even report them. Like the USGS is only one, but there's a variety of others that are out there that around the world that monitor earthquakes, and there'll be reports. Some of them will list ones that the United States doesn't report. So I don't know if it's to protect the people because science and the government doesn't think people are strong enough to handle what's going on with the earth, or what they're thinking. I don't know, but it just seems like this is important to pay attention to, because if we know the earth is going through its problems like this, what we can do is we can send some good positive vibes down to the earth. Now I know that sounds all new age foo-foo and stuff, but you know what? That's as simple as what we need to do. Everything in life around us is energy, and if we could work with the energy and we can adjust the energy and assist it, we can help transform it. And part of this 2012 trip that we're on is about understanding how these transformations we need to make can be made. So sooner or later, we're going to see a tipping point in something in this country. You could see it. There's a movement going on. There's a consciousness that's evolving. Something's changing for the better. All right. One last piece I want to go over here. At the recent Coachella Festival, one of the big excitements there was Tupac Shakur was on stage as a hologram. And holograms are pretty cool. It's been something that technology has really evolved with over the years. Now holograms also tie into the idea of Project Bluebeam, because remember, the governments have placed holographic equipment up in space, so that the idea is to present through this Project Bluebeam a series of incidents that will get people thinking they're seeing something they're not. So one of the things they want to do with Bluebeam is to have a holographic show in the sky where you'll see the spiritual leaders in your country. Maybe you'll see Buddha in the sky, or maybe you'll see Jesus or Krishna, or one of the spiritual leaders, and you'll think that there's something going on rapture related. Or they may want to do a alien invasion. That's one of the things they talked about, the fourth phase of Project Bluebeam, to simulate an alien invasion. So you look up in the sky and you think that we're under attack. The whole idea of that would be to turn to the government and say, "Oh, government, please save us," and the government will step in and they'll have a war against these holographic UFOs, and of course they will win that, and then America will say, "Yay, our government is awesome," and everybody will go and follow their leadership again. So that's the idea that they have in mind. But let's look at this holographic stuff. There's little doubt in my mind that these holograms will be the future of entertainment. I can easily see holographic moving images replacing television in the next 20 years. It would truly provide dimensional entertainment, and the possibilities are endless, such as audience participation with holographic images, real surround sound, adding odor to the shows, light shows that could literally light up an auditorium or your home entertainment center. The only limit to the possibilities is the size of one's imagination. Here's just some samples of things there. Holograms are cool, but holograms you can actually touch. A team of researchers from the University of Tokyo has created such a technology. The tactile hologram actually involves two basic pieces. A hologram, which generates simply by shining an LCD projector onto a concave mirror, and a novel technique which creates ultrasonic waves. Let me play this for you here. Alright, now that's a holograph there. Pretty cool, huh? So now you can see technology has certainly got to the point where we can create these holographs and interact with them. Okay, let me just zip ahead here. Saw the hand tracking. Okay. Alright, I'm going to leave this video for you to watch this. But holograms are very interesting and fascinating, and I think that, we're learning how to be able to discern what's real and what's not real in the world today. Because so many things that we see have something like a hologram that can be created around it. So we're going to have to learn to decipher, when these holograms get really good, between what's real and what's a hologram. Just as the same way as we need to decipher what's real and what's a lie. We're having to decipher in society about the president, what's real with his documents, with his certificate, and what's a fake. We're having lots of things like this, and it's important that we learn how to discern, because the better we can discern what's going on, the better we can fix the problems. Because if we don't really know what the problems are, well, then we don't know what we need to fix, right? All right, let's get to our meditation for today. Close things out. Go ahead and close your eyes and relax. All right, let's imagine that you are standing in a field. And as you're standing in this field, looking up at the sky, you contemplate the connection between all that exists. You contemplate the space between the objects, the space between the stars and the planets, the space between the trees, between the grass. And you realize that the same space exists between the cells of your body. And you realize that all things are connected. All things are energy. And all energy is available for everyone to work with, to use. And as we learn to work with energy and we become more proficient, we find that life around us changes. Because we understand how to use energy to create and how to avoid using energy that destroys. Imagine now utilizing your energy to create what it is you wish to create. Imagine seeing in front of you, being manifest, the object of your desire. See it with your mind's eye. And know that as you see it, you are one step closer to bringing it into reality. Imagine that all of your chakras are activated, starting with the chakra at the bottom of your spine. Color is red. Bring the energy up to the second chakra. Imagine the color orange. From there, raise the energy up to the chakra above it. Just below the rib cage, imagine the color yellow. From there, raise the energy up to the chakra above it to the heart. Imagine the color green. And from the green heart chakra, raise the energy up to the throat. Imagine the color blue. From the throat chakra, raise the energy up to the third eye. Imagine the color violet. And finally, to the crown chakra, the top of your head, imagine the color indigo. And then the light continues on up into the cosmos. From your heart chakra, let's send out love all around the world as the green colored light. Send this love down into the earth to assist the earth with the challenges that she is going through right now. Send love and healing down into the earth, that as she goes through her changes, she does so in a loving way. And get in tune with the earth, so that as the earth goes through its changes, you can evolve and change along with it in a smooth, easy transition as well. Now let's think a good thought for everybody in the world. And with that, we'll bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. There you have it. That's our show. That's our prayer. And that is our meditation. Thanks for being here, my friends. I'll be back tomorrow with more news information. Be safe. Take care of each other. I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.